Okay, so when you think back to the standard history class version of the civil rights movement, it's usually painted in, well, black and white.
Literally, yeah.
You have the black community, you have the white establishment, and that's the conflict. But when you dig into this stack of research, and we're talking about historian Sonia Lee, archives from the Young Lords, that whole narrative is missing something huge.
It's missing the third rail of the movement.
Right.
This isn't just a story about Puerto Ricans and Black Americans happening to live near each other.
Right.
We're looking at how they deliberately, constructed a shared political identity. They figured out that Blackness and Puerto Ricanness could be compatible tools to fight the system.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to track how that alliance went from an idea to a real strategy. We're pulling from the New York Times archives, El Diario, and Sonia Lee's analysis of what she calls the architecture of solidarity.
That phrase is so key, the architecture of solidarity. In mid-century New York, East and Central Harlem, these groups were neighbors. But Lee's whole point is that solidarity isn't a reflex. Just because you're both marginalized doesn't mean you automatically team up.
No, proximity isn't friendship. In fact, a lot of the notes here say it was an uneasy alliance at first.
Extremely uneasy. You had language barriers, cultural differences. But the white establishment was racializing the Puerto Rican community, treating them as black.
Regardless of their actual background.
Exactly. So they realized they couldn't fight that discrimination alone. They had to build a coalition.
And you see that choice pop up in places you really wouldn't expect. I mean, everyone knows the 1963 March on Washington.
I have a dream, yeah.
But if you look at the organizer list, Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just call on black leaders. He personally reached out to Gilberto Jarina Valentin.
And Valentin was a major figure. He was the president of the Puerto Rican Day Parade. King knew for the march to have real impact, it couldn't just be seen as a black issue.
It had to be a multi-ethnic front.
Yeah.
And Valentin delivered. He didn't just show up.
No, not at all.
He mobilized over 30,000 Latinos from the Northeast. And there's this incredible scene in the reports of Valentin speaking for 15 minutes in Spanish at the Lincoln Memorial.
And then the delegation sings La Borinqueña, the Puerto Rican anthem.
Right there on the steps.
In that moment, the song stops being just a cultural anthem. It becomes a civil rights protest song. It was a statement that this fight for freedom was indivisible.
So let's jump forward a bit to the late 60s. The coalition gets, well, a lot more radical with the Young Lords Party. I think most people's shorthand for them is just the Puerto Rican Black Panthers.
Yeah, it's the label, but it's not the full story. I mean, if you look at the membership data, it kind of contradicts that.
How so?
It's estimated that 25 to maybe 30% of the Young Lords were actually African-American. You had Black American leaders like Denise Oliver in high-ranking positions.
That is a massive crossover for a group that's, named for a specific island's heritage.
It's because they bonded over ideology, not just geography. They specifically rejected what they called pork chop nationalism.
Pork chop nationalism. I love that phrase, but we should probably define it.
It's a critique of style over substance, waving the flag, eating the traditional food, the pork chops, but ignoring the actual material needs of your people.
Ah, okay.
The Young Lords were basically saying, forget the flag waving for a second or the kids eating breakfast. They took that survival program model straight from the Black Panthers. Free breakfast, clinics, even rat control.
So it was class solidarity over just pure cultural pride.
Precisely.
And that focus on material conditions. It leads us to what might be the single biggest show of this unity, the school boycott of February 1964.
The numbers are just mind-blowing.
It's arguably the largest civil rights demonstration in U.S. history.
February 3rd, one day, over 450,000 students stayed home from school.
450,000. That's nearly 45% of the entire New York City school system.
45%. And the New York Times headline at the time just nailed it. Negroes and Puerto Ricans unite. They were protesting segregation, sure, but also things like rat-infested classrooms and broken toilets.
They proved that when they synchronized their efforts, they could shut down the biggest school system in the country.
And it really challenges how we think about these identities today. We're so used to checking separate boxes on a form.
Right.
But the real synthesis here is that Latinidad and Blackness in America were in many ways defined through this shared struggle. Sonia Lee concludes that when these coalitions fracture, social justice movements they lose their teeth.
It's a powerful reminder that a political identity is something you choose to build, not just a box you're born into.
Which leaves us with, I think, a really provocative thought for everyone listening. If racial and ethnic identities are tools forged in political action, not just fixed categories,
Hmm.
what new identities might be forming right now in today's movements that we don't even have a name for yet?